Welcome to A Dose of Feel Good. I'm your host, Whitney Bischoff, and today we are talking about being kind to yourself. You can see full show notes at doseoffeelgood.my.canva.site. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7. We're going to talk today about being kind to yourself, which is a topic that we're going to get a little vulnerable together today, which is going to be great. But I just have to pause. So I listened back to episode 5, the have to versus get to mindset episode. And as I was listening, I just had to giggle. I messaged one of my friends right away and was like, I am calling myself out here a little bit, which is hilarious. But I mention that because I think it's really important to remember that this podcast is really all about just how do we have that positive mindset? How do we feel good? But I am in no way an expert on any of this. This is just my own perspective, how I approach life. And I always say, if it helps even one person, then that's a win. So I just thought I'd share that funny tidbit with you that even as I listen back to some of these episodes, I'm like, I really needed that today, which is really fun. But today, I want to talk about being kind to yourself. So far, the episodes have really been focused on our impact on the world around us and just being mindful of how who we are and what we do does impact all the connections that we have. But I want to pause a little bit and really talk about what it means to be kind to yourself. I think we live in a world where we often put ourselves last, and I want us to change that mindset a little bit. When we put ourselves first, when we provide that kindness to ourselves, we are just so much better prepared to impact those around us. I think this is especially important because I think many of you can agree that we are our own worst critics. I often say to those around me that I will always have higher expectations for myself than anyone else will ever have for me. And I think we definitely, a lot of us are in that same headspace. I also think that it's easy for us to focus on what we need to improve, or if you're like me, maybe replay mistakes that you've made, or, choices that maybe didn't go as you had planned. And so I think when we focus on all that, we are hard on ourselves. And often when no one else is being hard on ourselves, right? We do that to ourselves. So what if we focused on all of the good we offer the world and all the good things we have done? Because we don't do that enough. We are not kind to ourselves. If I was doing a Chalk the Walk event for Suicide Prevention Month, and I saw someone write, if you said the things to those around you that you say in your head, people wouldn't really enjoy you. And I think that's really true, that sometimes what's the dialogue in our heads is not positive. It's not great. It's really critical. And we don't have to be. We can give ourselves kindness and grace, and it can be really, really powerful. I often also say, if the younger version of you could see where you are now, they'd be very, very impressed. They'd look up to you. They really would see that. They'd be in awe. And I think we think that we just have to keep doing better, being better. But the reality is that the younger version of ourselves would be so surprised of how far you've come, where you've gone, and even the goals you still have set forward. And just being reminded of that the world around us does look up to us in ways that we often don't see for ourselves. but we should give ourselves that same grace and that same kindness that we want to give out into the world. I think it's also really important and hard, and this is where I said, this episode might get a little vulnerable, is that reminding ourselves that we don't have to prove ourselves to anyone. We are already enough, just as we come to the table, just as we are, and we don't have to continue to prove ourselves to think that that's where our worth is coming from. And I think we live in a society where that's hard. That's really hard for us to do. We feel like we have to keep doing more and more and more for people to really see our worth or know that for ourselves that we are enough. But we already are, just as we are. No one else can take our place. And I think just remembering that. My story today, I'm not super great at sharing all parts of my story, who I am. We are going to do that in a future episode, just the power of that. But I think where this becomes especially important, I'm not very kind to myself. It's definitely something that I've worked on and had to improve upon. But I think a lot of this came to a head a couple of years ago. I was told by the supervisor that I didn't have to prove my worth. And flash forward a few months later, and I was sitting in a room, and that was exactly what I had to do to prove why I'm there. And it was just this really big conflict of having someone that I look up to tell me that I am good enough just as I am, and then kind of come back and throw that back at me of just like, the practice wasn't what was actually being told to me. And it took a lot of kind moments for myself and to myself to realize that I am enough and that there are a whole slew of people out there that remind me that I don't have to do more or prove more to be in a certain space. I'm enough just as it is. And the people are lucky to have me around. And that did take a lot of growing. No matter what, I can't control what anyone says or thinks about me, nor do I really want to. But I do think that while I can't control maybe what people are doing or saying about me or to me, I can control my own narrative in my head. And when we give that power back to ourselves, we are no longer giving permission for the world to treat us badly. And I think that is really important to remember. I definitely wouldn't say that I have it all figured out by any means. I am always trying to do and give more. It's a little bit part of my personality. I can't really sit still. I feel like I have to be go, go, go. But I think as I'm trying to give more to the world around me, I've really started to know that when I channel that same energy into my own kindness for myself, I just feel so much better. I've given myself that space of grace that we all will make mistakes. We all will go through hard things, but we always come out the other side. We come out the other side. I always say often better. We experience challenges to grow and to learn and to be better humans. And so the version that I am today is definitely not who I was 2 years ago, nor who I was as a kid or teen, just trying to figure it all out. And that's something that we should be proud of and celebrate. I think this is especially important and impactful because we can't wait on the world to be kind to us. We, I think, live in a space now where kindness maybe isn't the first go-to thing that we experience. We sometimes experience some hard, rough people, and so we can't wait on the world to give us the kindness that we deserve for ourselves. I often do believe the best in people. It's just kind of my nature. Some call me naive for that, but I do believe like people are genuinely and generally good. But the world can be mean. it can be hard. And I've often had that mentality tested because I'm like, oh, there's got to be something else going on. This isn't a personal thing. And it often isn't, but it can definitely feel that way. But if we prioritize speaking nice to ourselves and controlling that narrative and that dialogue, then we're being kind to ourselves first before the world has an opportunity to maybe prove that to us, or sometimes prove the opposite. We become all that we ever needed. We are the people who will always be there. Other people in our lives, they might come and go, which is hard to remember and know, but we will always be our best advocate. We are always going to be here. We are on the journey together. And so it's really important to love yourself first. And I know it's kind of cliche. We hear you have to love yourself before you can love someone else, which I think that's when you really show up for those around you. But I think it's more than that. It's really controlling this dialogue and giving yourself kind moments, refilling your cup, whatever that might look like, and really reframing thoughts, especially when they get negative or maybe when you're more hard on yourself. Take that time to reframe those thought processes. It takes practice. It's not maybe supernatural, especially for those that do maybe overthink. I am one of those people. But when we practice that kindness for ourselves, we're also demonstrating that for everybody around us. And everyone should show up as kind to themselves instead of waiting for the world to be those kind pieces that we need in order to thrive. So what are our takeaway steps from today, from being kind to ourselves? I'm calling myself out a little bit here. Like I said, this is a vulnerable moment. I've had to do a lot of journey here, and I don't have it all figured out. But these are some of the things that I've practiced and have been really helpful. So the first is spending time alone, doing something that you love. Anyone will tell you, I don't love being alone or spending time alone. I am an extrovert. I like being around people. It's what refills my cup. But when I'm learning to practice kindness for myself, it means that I like spending time with myself in my own company, and I don't need somebody else to come in and refill that piece. And so I highly encourage you, especially if it's uncomfortable, spend time alone doing what you love. And oftentimes what that means for me is I might go to a coffee shop, or I've gone to like a bookstore before. And it doesn't mean that I'm just sitting there kind of in my own bubble, but I talk to people around me. I do those types of things, but I'm doing it alone. I'm not going with friends. I'm not going with anyone else. So I am spending time alone, and what I love is talking to people, and that's okay. So anyways, weird paradox, I know. The second piece is giving yourself grace. So sometimes I think we get stuck on all the things we wish we would have done better or differently, and we just replay that over and over in our head. And so giving yourself grace, whether that's saying out loud, journaling. I am an out loud processor, so I just talk through things out loud, and then just letting it go. That's what grace is for. That's what forgiveness is for. And I think the third takeaway is when you find yourself seeing all the good in others and doing good for others, so recognizing that for everyone else, I would really like you to pause and make sure that you're giving yourself that same energy. Are you finding the things in yourself that you should be proud of, or those moments of growth, and really recognizing the impact of that? I think we can easily see that in everyone else. And that's often especially in the world we live in, we want to compare. We want to be like everyone else, or like just experience. We only see the best lives on social media, or often that's all we share is the good stuff. So when you see all of that good in everyone else, really recognizing that you have that within yourself and that you bring that to the table as well, and really focusing on how you can be kind to yourself. And with that, we are going to wrap up episode 7, which seems absolutely wild that we already have 7 episodes out in the universe. If you really are enjoying this, which I hope you are, I hope you're getting some feel-good moments, I would love if you take a second and share it with one person. Bringing back that 10-minute challenge, I would be so honored if you shared this with somebody that you think might need it in this moment, and make it kind of a commitment to start each week with a dose of feel good and joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.